I'm Josh Klein.
And I'm Elise Hugh.
We host a podcast from Accenture called Built for Change.
Every part of every business is being reinvented right now. That means companies are facing brand new pressures to use fast evolving technologies and address shifting consumer expectations.
But with big changes come even bigger opportunities. We've talked with leaders from every corner of the business world to learn how they're harnessing change to totally reinvent their companies.
And how you can do it too.
Subscribe to Built for Change now so you don't miss an episode.
First, the bad news. SAP Business AI won't generate amusing holiday cards, but it will personalize career paths for your people and let you know which suppliers are best, so you can be ready for the next opportunity. Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
The real moment for me about finding my sobriety community was in a bookshop. I think I've mentioned this before. And I asked the lady behind the counter if she had a book about alcoholism, thinking that she was going to give me the big book, The 12 Steps. But she didn't. She actually handed me Ruby Warrington's book, Sober Curious. And I hadn't heard that term before. And I soaked that book up like I did vodka Red Bull in the old days. And, you know, that suddenly opened up the floodgates for me. I realised that I wasn't the only mid-range binge drinker with a problem. And for me, that was huge. And as soon as I finished that book, I searched the word Sober Curious online. And then that was that. I found this whole world of millions of people struggling with all sorts of different alcohol problems. And I did fit onto that spectrum somewhere, which is what that book taught me. Also, my need to meet other people from that point on became so strong that I actually started my own sober social group, which is something everybody can do. I just went on to Meetup and I made a group and I put it out there. And I met Lucy through that group. And also I met loads and loads of other people. And it's such a simple thing to do to look for people in your community who are just like you. So yeah, and I got there and I was able to discuss something I'd been desperate to discuss for such a long time with people going through exactly the same thing. And with that, I also found a couple of people that I really resonated with. You've got to pick the right ones. You've got to be able to know who is going to suit you on this journey, who is going to be your buddy, somebody with a similar experience to you, perhaps someone that's a bit further along the line than you as well, that's got a bit more experience. Because that can really, really help. But I definitely think you've got to be careful in these sober groups because they can be complicated, like family members. You've got to have your boundaries up and, you know, people are vulnerable in these groups. So you do have to be careful. But I think stepping into them, you have to take away from them what you can and then continue with the other parts of your sobriety journey as well. It's just part of it. So yeah, they were that finding that Sober Curious book with that term in it that softened the term alcoholic for me, I think that was a real breaking through point in my sobriety journey.
Yeah, and I think as well as that book that you've mentioned, there are loads of others out there as well, aren't there? That was just where you went and found one book that was like, wow, that is just incredible.
That is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are so many books out there now. We're so lucky that there's so much. And just to follow on from what you said, Vic, as well, about meeting all different people who are at different stages on their sobriety journey at these groups. One thing, you know, you have to be a little bit careful of sometimes is that people do fall back into drinking. So when you're choosing who you're going to connect with on a more regular basis, if there's somebody there who isn't managing to keep as sober as you for as long as you, sometimes you do have to say, okay, it's probably not a good idea for me to carry on sort of connecting with this person. You've got to really think of yourself a lot, haven't you?
Definitely.
And what you need for your journey. But because there's so many people doing it, you will find someone. And I mean, what made me get over myself and finally reach for support? Desperation.
Yeah.
I was so desperate.
Yeah.
And I think I've said it before on this podcast. By the time I met you, Vic, I felt like I was in a dark room and there were all these doors around me and I was just reaching out and trying them all and none of them was open. And I just needed one of those bloody doors to open.
Hello. It was me.
And there she was.
Hello. Not today, thank you.
Oh, it's that Victoria from Meetup.
Dullard.
Surely she's not my salvation.
Oh, here I am, here to help you with a bowl of porridge.
And there you were.
Yeah.
But that's what it was like for me. I really was quite desperate. And I remember you saying, look, well, I've got a sober group. And I was like, I'll be there. And I did everything. And so sober groups were really what got me through my first few months of sobriety. And again, the same as you, Vic, there are other people out there like me. And that is a really good feeling. There's people I can talk to about this, people I can share experiences with, and they get me. And I hadn't had that before because, yes, you can go out with people who don't drink, but that's completely different to going out with people who are sober because they had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
And another thing that made me decide to reach out is because my business, which is for single mums, has got a huge group of single mothers, mainly Australian, but from the UK, America and all over the world. And a lot of people find so much support from that space, just connecting with people who are in a similar situation to them. And the group for me is something where, I mean, it's my work, so I'm on it all the time and I can't really talk that much about what I feel and think because I have to be a very neutral space there. But I see how much it helps other people, just connecting with others similar to them. And I'm like, well, maybe that's what I need somewhere else, but around the sobriety journey. So that's why I reached out, because I thought I'm giving this support to others who need it in the single mum arena.
And maybe you need it somewhere else.
I need it somewhere else. Yeah. So that was what encouraged me. So we did find our sober communities eventually after we went through all the ridiculous thought process of what we thought they were going to be like. And then we got to the point of desperation and enlightenment.
Shutting ourselves in a cupboard on our own, crying for hours on end. And we reached out to the light.
We did, and we found, well, we obviously found the same spaces because that's where we met. But tell us, Vic, what sort of things worked for you?
Well, I've definitely talked about the Instagram, making an Instagram account and a Facebook account. I know they're toxic in some ways, those things, with pouting selfies and all that sort of thing. But if you find the sobriety community on either of those, it is nothing like that. There are a lot of comparing photos I do find in these communities, like before and after, because I guess you can't really show a picture of a broken soul. So people want to show, look, this is what I looked like when I was drinking. This is what I looked like when I stopped, which is inspiring in some ways, but really it's about what's inside. And that's the real sober journey that me and Lucy have been on, because we're still ugly, unfortunately. There is no before and after with me. I look worse.
Well, I don't know what you looked like before.
Yeah, I was really pretty. Now I'm turning into a booth
You were a
troll.
stunner.
Yeah, I was gorgeous. Yes, so
maybe that's because you were younger.
Yeah, I don't know, probably, and I hadn't been through any huge traumas.
You had your beer goggles on.
Yeah. So I found loads of people on Instagram and Facebook that I follow now passionately, because they're the people that keep me sober. And it's people like Sober Dave. Follow him, he's brilliant. There's Soberlicious in England, there's Untoxicated. Sober in the Country, I have to mention them, Shanna Wange, because she supports loads of people in Outback Australia. She's huge. Just find something that suits you. Follow them all. Just make separate accounts from your normal ones and follow all of these people. You will find someone you resonate within these stories and within these pages. So I really recommend doing that. The other thing I have to mention is my morning exercise group. I know that's a weird one because it's not a sober community. I know. It's so cliche. I'm sorry, but
go for a jog.
Yeah. I have started exercising since I gave up drinking as often as I can. And there's this amazing guy, Scott, who runs this free exercise group where I live at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And it means I go for a coffee and I go for a swim after we've done our class, and I sit and I do my socialising before 7 a.m. So I don't actually feel the need to go out in the evening because it's done. I've had a laugh. I've chatted with people. We've talked about all sorts of things. There's no pressure to drink. I mean, that going out for a coffee with people and doing all that sort of thing that you used to do in the evening and having that need fulfilled of socialising is such a good thing to do in the morning. So shout out to the Majimba exercise crew that I see every morning.
Do you do that every morning?
Well, I try to, but I haven't done it for about 3 weeks. I've been on holiday.
You've been on holiday.
I try to do it every day, but yeah, I do boxing as well, but it's better than doing nothing. I try, Lucy. They'll be like, God, what's she talking about? She never turns up. Please don't.
I'll be like,
they don't listen to this.
There's this bird who's just mentioned you on her podcast. Does anyone know who she is?
Oh, that fat one that turns up occasionally.
Came once. Yeah.
The one that was panting in the
the
corner.
fat, ugly one.
The one that was bloated in the corner.
Looked like she's drunk too much over her life.
Yeah. One really unfit one. Also, Quit Lit and podcasts, of course, are an amazing resource for finding sober people, sober stories. The stories of others will make you feel less alone. For me, going on other people's podcasts was an amazing journey for me because I got to retell my drinking story. In the beginning, when I first went on podcasts, I just thought, oh yeah, listen to me, I'm a bit of a binge drinker. But as it went on and I kept retelling the story, and listening back to myself, I realised, gosh, really, I did have a massive problem. So it was good hearing my own story. So I really recommend telling your drinking story to as many people as you can.
As many people who will
listen. Yeah. And hearing what their reactions are, because that is very interesting to hear. What they'll go, well, gosh, actually, you were a bit crazy. So, and also hearing other people's stories is a really good way to understand that you're not alone. Also, advice, that's what I was just saying, keep talking about it. Your story is so important to this sober curious movement. Tell people on the bus, I want people to know that this is not boring, it's better. I was going to tell Lucy very briefly about on the plane on the way to my holiday, I was rather chuffed because I found myself on the Virgin Entertainment System.
I think that's a massive thing.
I was scrolling through and there I was, an interview that I did with Mamma Mia a few months ago, and I actually nudged the guy next to me being like all proud because I've never seen myself in anything like that before, and I was like, look, that's me, and he sort of leaned away from me and sort of didn't speak to me for the rest of the flight.
He probably thought about you as we used to think about sober.
He was probably like, who is this sober weirdo? I know, and I was really proud of myself and just wanted to tell someone. And yes, maybe don't tell everyone, not somebody you don't know on a plane like I did. But
no, I
anyway,
think you did the right thing.
I was proud.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing, actually, Vic.
I was quite excited, to be honest.